Yes, we are ready.
All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Blank Page podcast. I'm Claudio.
I am Matthew Wright.
All right. Thanks for joining us again. What is our blank page today? What does it look like when you look at that blank page today? What's materializing?
For me,
Yeah.
it is all of the AI news this week.
So yeah, tell me about it.
Google has been the biggest player this week. They released Gemini 3.
Okay.
And
Heard about it? Tell me more. Why
um,
should I care about?
why should you care about it?
Yeah.
Because it is the hottest, newest toy on the block. This is not something you particularly would care about because
Right.
first and foremost, you want to understand what problems does it solve.
Right. So why are you excited about it?
Because I like shiny new toys.
Okay.
So
So that is the thing. Like, give me the shiny new toys. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
So not necessarily for what it's done in my personal projects, for example,
Mhm.
because it's only been around for maybe a day, so I haven't really had time to play with it.
Right.
But there is an excitement for me every time something new launches.
Okay.
Today they released. Oh, in addition to releasing Gemini 3, they released a new IDE called Anti-Gravity.
Oh, okay. So that was the thing that Jake just mentioned. That he mentioned that I'm like, what is that? But I just kept that
Yeah.
to not stop the conversation. So that's what that is. Okay.
Yes. So Anti-Gravity is Google's latest IDE. It is another fork of VS
VS Code. So Eric brought that one up.
Yeah.
2 days ago. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Mhm.
Another one of
I
those.
believe Kevin may have even mentioned it as well.
Right.
But another one of those because
Yes.
I've downloaded it, I've checked it out, I've had an opportunity to use it, and
Okay.
you're gonna be like, okay, how is this any different from Cursor? How is this any different from Windsurf?
Correct.
Exactly. And there are some little differences here or there, but nothing to justify, abandoning the other ones and switching to this thing.
Got it.
Not that I've discovered thus far,
Mhm.
but again, the weekend's coming and I'll have more time to play.
Okay. Yeah.
Nano Banana Pro is what they're calling it, has launched this morning.
Right.
And from what I've seen, it can do some very impressive image editing.
Image editing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the use cases I've seen is you'll give it maybe 5 or 6 different source images separate, and you'll say, combine all of these and put all of the, let's say they're people, put all of these people into one image, a composite, and let's see what that looks like. And you give it a prompt, of course, to say, okay, let's make an image of all of these people playing tennis. And it does so in a really impressive way.
Interesting. So I guess that is an improvement over the previous update, because I remember one of the demos that they showed was something like they had like a female model,
Yeah.
and then some kind of clothes, and then like a car, I believe.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh yeah, make the model be wearing those clothes,
Yes.
leaning on this car, and yada yada. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess they just made that even better,
Even better.
right?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So I'm looking forward to playing around with those tools.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let me know how it goes.
Most definitely.
Yeah, the one thing I mentioned this morning that I tried was just last night I was playing with starting to design the cover art for a book.
Yes,
Right?
I saw you mention that.
Yeah, and first I tried with ChatGPT,
Mhm.
like conversing with it to say, okay, this is the idea. Help me like build a prompt to get what I'm trying to, right? And then I tried ChatGPT's image generation, didn't like that,
And we're back.
right?
Let's continue.
So yeah, so I tried the image generation in ChatGPT for that. I didn't
Mhm.
quite like the results. So I said, okay, let me try Gemini. And then some of it, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And I'll say, okay, try this, try that. Still didn't get to anything interesting. I ended up like grabbing a screen capture of that, going into Snagit, and just like moving some things around, some of the words the way or they that I wanted to show, and I was trying to convey that through a prompt.
Right.
It was not nowhere near what I wanted. So I said, okay, let me just cut. Like, I want you to move this thing here and this thing here, right? And then I fed it back into Gemini last night. It was like, nah, that's still no.
Yeah.
And then this morning, I
Mhm.
tried it again. It's like, okay, now we're talking.
Yes.
I can work with that. It's
Yeah.
still like there's refinement. It's like that's much closer. It's like it's making progress forward,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, I like that. And that just came from like, okay, here, just make this a little bit more polished or something like that.
Right.
It's like I was very vague and I gave what I didn't like before. Like, that is already an improvement.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is worth my time, like spending 10 minutes later
Right.
to make it better and say, is that the direction I want to go with it?
So these models, they've always had an issue with text generation. As it relates to generating images, text inside of those images that is generating. One of the improvements allegedly of Nano Banana Pro is the fidelity of the text that it generates.
Right.
Because of this limitation in the past, what I would do is instead of saying generate this text on this image, I would say, let's say we're talking about a book. I would say generate a book with no text on it, like we're talking
Okay.
about a cover, for example. And
Yeah.
then I would use a separate tool to go in and add the text where it's going to look exactly how I need it to, instead of, you know, what we get today, which is it'll spell the word and maybe add an extra vowel or whatever it does. It's weird sometimes.
That was
Yeah.
one of the problems. Like
Yeah.
one of the words that I had was playbook.
Yes.
It could like ChatGPT, Gemini, they could not get it right.
Yeah.
They wrote it like instead of playbook with double O, it dropped an O and it added an A.
Yeah. That kind of
Like,
thing.
what? And it's amazing because it does like everything else so well.
But the text.
But the text, and the funny
Yes.
thing is that if I was trying to say, oh, I want to say maybe have a bottle and have the text around it,
Yes.
I could see the difficulty, but it was not that at all.
Yeah.
It's just like flat text on it, cannot get the spelling right.
Funnily enough, the bottle example that you just used, in releasing Nano Banana Pro, they of course released some of the example images of what it can do. And what they did was they showcase a bottle with some branding on it, right? Some text. And instead of just, you know, swapping the text out for some other English sentence, they swapped the text out for Korean, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And it looks good. Still maintaining the style of the original text from the
Okay.
original can, but in a completely different language.
Wow. Now, whether it was recreating that language, we don't know, or do we?
Wow. I'll put it this way. I think in releasing, because this is promotional material,
Of course.
I would hope they did their homework to ensure
Right.
that it's the right thing. But it looks good. It looks
Right.
incredible, yeah.
That's very exciting. Cool. Good, good, good. Yeah, I do. And we joke because folks here at Improving know that I'm always the one saying it's not about the tool, right? It's what we are using it for.
Right.
So when new tools, like there are new tools coming out like every single day, you kick a tree, you're swamped with all the new tools and things.
Yep.
So what I personally focus on is I try to learn one thing that immediately applies to something that I can make a use of it, or it's something like, oh, now that I know that this is possible, I can, recall some ideas that I had in the past, because now I have the tool that can actually pull that off.
Right.
Right. I actually blogged about that, I think yesterday or the day before, like how many ideas from the past I had dropped them because it's like I do not have the time
Yep.
to do the thing, or the tools that I have available. It will take me too much time, and I'm gonna have to be busy with parts of the process that I don't enjoy doing. So it's
Right.
like I want to do that because of this thing, but now if I'm spending too much time here, I'm not doing that. And now I'm revisiting a lot of those ideas, and with the help of AI tools, I'm like, bam, 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 and I get to focus on the thing that I wanted to do
That's right.
to begin with. And a few days ago, it was the coolest experience, right? So I'm sharing some AI use with some people, and they say, oh man, you know so many things about this. How do you learn? Where do you find the time to learn all of these things? I said, because I don't go out trying to learn of all these things that are coming out. What I do is like, okay, I have this one problem. Let me look around and see if there's anything that I can give a shot.
Yes.
And then I find this thing that, looks like a hammer. Maybe what I need is a screwdriver, but that hammer will do just what I need.
That's right.
Right? And a few days ago, I saw this one video that came up on my YouTube feed, like features of Gemini
Yep.
that you may not know of, whatever. The video is like a 30-minute long video.
Yeah.
I started playing at double speed, right? Just like hovering over to see the topics. And this one, I'm like, okay, let me just watch it. I watched it for like 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm going to save this
Yep.
and I'm going to come back to it in a few days. That was the thing about creating an app in Gemini.
Yes.
Whereas I did not know you could do that. I knew you can use AI Studio, which we've been using quite a bit, but I didn't think like the use case for me were two.
Yes.
One was generating thumbnails for this podcast.
That's right.
Because I'm always like prompting the same way and I'm not really getting the results. Like, can't we just have an app that knows about the style of
Yep.
our podcast and the references that we use and all that, and just give me the darn, thumbnail in the dimensions that YouTube wants and all that. And then I saw that video, I'm like, oh, that was exactly the example the guy gave on the video. I just created a similar app, right? So for those who are not familiar with it, you go into Gemini, into the canvas mode, and then you say, create me an app for, right? And then that app you can use, if it was just like a chat for you,
Yeah.
go to that link, you can use that app. If you want to have somebody else use that, you hit the share button, they will
That's
get a link and that's all they get, right? So I had that use, and then the following day, something I shared last night here with improvers, I created a survey, right? That instead of going into any of the like creating a Google form or a Microsoft form or a Teams survey or whatever, like I didn't have time. I had the markdown with all the questions. And instead of creating that by hand, I went into Gemini and say, here are some questions, right, for a survey in Markdown. Create an app that I can share with somebody else.
Yep.
Boom! It created this custom built, beautiful little app tailored to that one thing. It took me like a minute for me to just drop it there, have it, and then give it to somebody else, right? And that was it.
So this brings up another issue that people ask all the time. In Claude, their online chatbot allows you to do the exact same thing.
Okay.
So inside of a chat, you can say, build me an app, and it will build an app, and they call it artifacts. You can do the very same thing of sharing it with other people. They can interact with it, and it's even versioned. So you can share version 1, version 2, version 3, etc. Because you're making iterations on this, and it doesn't just erase the old one. So because this tool, Claude in this case, can do the same thing as Google's Gemini in creating an app inside of this canvas, people will ask, well, how do you know which one to use?
Like for me, it's like I just pick one.
Yeah.
It's as I said, I have that thing there and I found this hammer. I can drive that thing through the wall. Maybe I needed a screwdriver, but
Yeah.
the hammer did just what I needed in that moment, right? And then in my case, like when I see things like that, I'll keep trying different ways to use the tool for the different problems that I have. And then over time, I may show that to somebody else who might say, have you looked into this other tool that does something similar but better in the following sense? I'm
Yes.
like, no, but now tell me more.
Right.
And then I'll go there. Like I don't get married to a specific tool.
Yes.
It's just whatever time I have allocated in that moment, that's what it does for me.
So my response is a bit similar. If you have some issue and both of these tools can potentially solve it by generating an app, why not give the prompt to both?
Provided that I have the time, I do that.
I mean,
Yes.
if you have the time to do it for one, you have the time to do it for two, because it's not like you have to do one at a time. You open up 2 tabs, you
I
give this one the
understand.
prompt, you give that one the prompt, and you fire them, and they are
I understand that.
simultaneously.
And yes, I understand that. I love that approach. If I'm sitting down, focused on doing that, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
task that I have at hand, and then
Right.
I can spin that up. The thing I said I did with the survey,
Yeah.
I was already splitting my attention
Mhm.
into working with people, multiple people, having a conversation, and then on the side saying, here, AI, do this thing.
Right.
So for me to say, hold on, let me create, like use multiple tools, it was just not the
That
spot
wasn't the
for that.
time.
That was not the time for that.
Right.
But I totally take, yes, that is spot on.
Mhm.
If I'm focused on one task, yeah, just branch it off into multiple tools, multiple
Yeah.
models, whatever okay, 100%.
And I look at it this way. If you had 5 very capable human beings who you could say, all of you go work on the same task, you know that you're going to get a different result from each of those people.
Yeah.
No different with these tools.
Yes.
So if I am working on something and I do have the time and the space to play around, I will give all of the tools the same prompt and see which produces the result that is closest in alignment with what I am seeking.
And I think it's and I like that
Yeah.
100%. And I think it's like maybe before deciding to go and do that, it's the taking the step back and
Yes.
thinking, why is it that I'm going after that? What I'm trying to get out of it? Because
Yes.
sometimes if the why is just, I just need a solution for
Yeah.
this. It does not have to be the best one. I do
Right.
not need a variety to then have to make a decision. It's like, I just need one solution right now. That's
Yeah.
all I need. As opposed to maybe you're in the ideation phase, you have a
Yes.
problem and you want to see the different possibilities.
Yes.
So then it's the whole diverge, converge
Yes.
approach, right? You have a problem, you diverge into multiple understandings of that problem until you narrow it down to say, this is actually the problem. Okay, now let's explore, diverge again into multiple ways
Yes.
to accomplish it until you get to the one that's like, this is the one that we're going to try.
This is why I like the approach of, in spirit of divergence, you give all of these tools the same prompt and you say, hey, generate a plan. And then you can cross-reference the plan between the tools. Right. And say, hey, here is another plan that was generated. Have a look at this.
Yeah.
And it will say, oh, in my plan, I didn't consider this, but that's a great idea. And it will fold that into its plan, for example. And then you converge yet again onto the one that, most closely aligns with your desire and intent.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that refining process, because then if that's what the thing, the ultimate desired outcome that we want, like going that route and then seeing the different perspectives.
Yes.
It's all about seeing the different perspectives. And it's like, okay, I like this part here and this part here, and this part here. Let's put it all together. Okay, here, let's refine this now. Oh, I love it.
I love that idea. Again, I always make the comparison to how I would do a similar thing with human beings.
Yes.
And it would be no different than having, 5 of us who can, look at some problem through the lens of our own past experiences and arrive at some solution or plan for it.
Yeah.
And then we, work together to say, hey, I like this idea from your plan. I like that idea from your plan. Let's consolidate all of these into one plan, the convergence, and move forward with that. And then diverge yet again and continue to do this process until we arrive at the thing that we're trying to build out ultimately.
Yeah. Oh, man. We will continue there. Let me just put a pin there. So design thinking, design sprints. We're gonna go there in just a little bit. As you were mentioning about the artifacts in Claude and everything, I haven't personally used Claude much, right? I just know it's another tool.
Yes.
Right? I just haven't used it much, but I have heard, and probably you have too, about Rick Rubin's his latest book that he created using Claude, and he leveraged that thing of like putting it out there and having people like expand from what he published. It's like very interesting use of the tool. And as you mentioned, like, oh yeah, I need to go back to that book because I started going through and I didn't go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So design sprints, right? So this process of like having a team going into a business that has a problem, you get your UX designers, you get the people in the room who has the problem to, explain what they are, and having the team coming up with different prototypes, right? The ideation phase, and then test that with the people like as quickly as possible to figure out, is this the best way to go?
Right.
Like in the past where we would, or even in the present, in many cases, we're still doing like paper prototypes to like draw it up and present it to people and say something like this, right? And then creating something a little bit more elaborate. Now with what we have, you just, as you say it out loud, you dump it into the AI, and then a few minutes later, boom, something like that. And then having a team listening to it through different perspectives, and then describing it in their own way right? And then coming up with like a handful of options and showing the stakeholders, here, look at all of these and let's have a conversation. I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, bring it all together, bam. Unbelievable.
This is why, like, the idea of manually taking notes in a meeting is increasingly, for me, becoming more and more unpopular
Yeah.
because of how much we leave on the table.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, of course, like if you're a great note taker, you're going to extract some amazing insights or amazing moments as you're capturing these notes. But
Right.
if I can record the entire conversation and not be bothered with taking these notes, and I can focus in on the people who are talking,
Yeah.
we can extract the real information that we need. We can get to the core of the problem that we're trying to solve. Because people recognize that they have problems, and it's really difficult to march towards the solution because that requires some imagination.
Right.
Like, I have this problem and I wish I could do it this way. I wish you start to hear this kind of thing. And a lot of that is left on the table.
Yeah.
If you take all of these wishes, feed it into, one of these models, we can start to say, hey, there's something there. Let's poke at it and make a small proof of concept, or just at the ideation phase, come up with a plan for some of these wishes, and we can do this, and we don't have to spend weeks doing it.
Yep. 100%. So this is something that I'll soon be releasing some of that content, but at Improving Here last night, Matthew attended an internal talk I gave with many lessons learned around using AI in a user acceptance testing effort. And one of the things that I shared there was all the sessions were recorded, right, all day long. And I used the transcription and my way to sell that to people in the meeting to say, because some people are not comfortable with having things recorded. And I said, the point is so that we can all maintain eye contact.
Yes.
We can stay focused on the conversation without having to take notes, because then later we can go in and chat with our notes to say, okay, recall that part of the conversation and how it does like the sentiment analysis, and it picks up on how people expressed their ideas and all of that. It's just like, it's priceless. And the whole thing about like, as we were discussing, I remember some of the issues that have come up. I'm like, oh man, that kind of bugs me that we have that.
Mm-hmm.
And the mind already wanted to do some problem solving, but it's like not the place and the time yet. Let it go. Keep listening.
I have to be in the moment.
Exactly. And then later, as I'm like debriefing, right? And once people left the room and I was like, debriefing some of like the immediate thoughts and feelings that I had, and I was already like having that clarity that then allowed me to go back through the transcript and it's like recall that part of the thing, and here are some ideas that I have.
Yes.
So I fed that into the AI tool and say, okay, this is a transcript from stakeholders, from the testers. These are some ideas that I have on how we could potentially solve that. Create a plan. So in Cursor, I said, create a plan out of that. You have the source code for the code base, what we have currently implemented, all the ninja moves, the binary ninja moves, and then here comes a plan. I'm like, I think that's something worth pursuing.
Yes.
Next thing you know, like next morning, there's like a working prototype that people go like, that will absolutely solve the problems you're talking about.
I mean, if you are some company and you're trying to sell your clients on the idea of integrating AI into the workflows, having a meeting today and arriving tomorrow at the next meeting with a prototype, it's hard to beat that.
Yes.
It's hard to beat that.
It is.
I mean, even outside of an AI context, if you were to do such a thing, they're going to be wild, of course, and they're going to imagine that you spent all night working on this.
Yes.
That's no longer a thing. I mean, as soon as the meeting ends, you do this whole process. You get the transcript, you create a plan, you say, make me a small proof of concept based on this. And 30 minutes after the meeting's over, you already have something that you can tinker around with.
Yeah. Let's explore that a little bit, because that was precisely the kind of experience that I had, right? So we are in UAT, running these things, some, issues come up, and I'm like, how are we gonna fix that or the other? Comes to the end of the meeting, I'm doing my debrief, and then I have these ideas from what's coming up. I dropped it all, as I said, into Cursor, and I said, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what you know about the project. This is what you know about everything else that was discussed in the room.
Yeah.
Create a plan for that. Like, what would that look like? Because that tapped into like the possibilities. I know it's possible, but it's knowledge that I don't have.
Yeah.
Right? It's the use and the creating AI powered features. That's knowledge that I don't currently have. Right? It's like, I know it's possible. I just don't know how to pull it off myself. Go ahead and do the thing. It created a plan. I'm like, okay, that might be like a weekend thing that when I'm on my treadmill doing my walk and doing my weekly review, I'm gonna have my computer on the side. I would just hit build, and I'm thinking that will probably take like 30 minutes at least. So I hit build and I'm walking and doing my other thing here, and then occasionally I look to the side and the thing is done, and I look down at my timer. It's like 5 minutes.
Yes.
Huh? It's like that. And then I looked, like it generated a lot of code, and the things that it carried through the plan, I'm like, that is pretty good. I run and it's like, yeah, it's not quite there yet, but this is the direction.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, I don't care about this other thing that I was doing. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time here. The 1 hour that I had on my timer to walk, within that 1 hour, I'm like, this is 100% something I should pursue.
Yes.
And then overall, it then took me about 5 hours altogether to create a very strong prototype. Not just prototype, it was a proof of concept. Like, it does prove the concept. Like, this is a workable solution, not the ideal implementation yet, because as I said, I don't know enough. I knew just enough to, I guess, write the proper prompt, right? Got the solution, got the approval from the stakeholders who saw it. It's like, yeah, that would totally solve, a big chunk of problems we have. And then I've already gone back and said, okay, now that we have this, what's the next step? How do we make this better, like production ready? And there's already a plan.
That's right.
That I can keep talking to it, or I can also bring our improving specialists who have built similar features, and I can ask them to poke holes.
That's right.
Right? Bring those humans in the loop to make it for a solid implementation.
So you have an idea, you kick off some plan to build out a proof of concept, and before you even care about the implementation details, you've already validated this with the stakeholder.
Yes.
Only at that point, when they say, yes, this is exactly what we want, then you care about the implementation details.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, because that was precisely it. Because as I saw, it's like, okay, it's validated and all, and I saw some of the implementation, like how it got to some of those results. Like, okay, I could see where that could fit and could work exactly the way it is.
Yeah.
And I could see where it's gonna fall short. Because it's not gonna account for these other aspects of the features that we're gonna need there. But then again, it's another one's like, okay, I see that as a problem. What would the solution be for that? Well, for that, you have to use this other thing here. Plan that out.
Yes.
Help get me there. Yeah, that. And what's amazing is that some of these things you may tell people the things that you can do with it. And some folks might think, oh, that sounds like a great feature, right? It's like, it's right now. It's now. It's right here. And what I tell some folks is like, some of the things that I'm doing with that, like what I know is very much the tip of the iceberg. It's like, I do not know all of those things in depth at all. I'm nowhere near close, understanding even what else is possible. It's I have this one thing, let me try this one thing here.
Yes.
Not overthinking. If there's like a dozen different tools that can do the same thing, which one should I pick? That.
Yeah. And this speaks to
That's it.
This speaks to your using auto mode, for example, not caring about which model that you're using to fix some problem or to investigate some task or to even do the planning.
Correct.
It's auto.
Yeah.
and you go through this iteration stage.
Yeah.
I mean, the tools are impressive. One thing that I have noticed is as people are building out something or they are investigating some path to reach some solution to a problem that they have, um, in their mind, as they're working with the tools, they will tell themselves, oh, the tool can't do this. So they will override by um, injecting their own ways of thinking about how the problem should be solved instead of saying, I have this problem, how should we approach it? And letting the chips fall where they may, seeing what the output is, and then evaluating that instead of, looking at this through the lens of their own preconceived notions about how the models behave. Like, so my approach is make no assumptions. If I have an issue that I want to be solved, I will share the problem.
Yes.
And let it kick off its own investigation. It will respond. The way I have it set up in my environment is it will respond with a markdown file that I can review.
Yes.
And as I mentioned before, I'll take this investigation and I'll feed it into another model and say, hey, poke holes in this, surface any red flags or whatever. And now I have another version of that file with additions from the second model's investigation of that model or analysis of it. And
Yes.
I'll work from that point. But I never make assumptions about what the models can do or what they can't do. You mentioned that you're at the tip of the iceberg where you don't know exactly all of everything that's capable of, but you don't have to know if you're curious. Those things will start to surface on their own if you have this desire to figure out what it can do.
And when you're ready for it.
And when you're ready for it, of course, yeah.
Right. I think that's this whole conversation. So it sparked from like when I overheard some fellow improvers like being cognizant of like, oh, don't prompt the tool with this kind of request because it's like it's eating up tokens when you can already you could use this other thing here. Like, oh, I do that all the time.
And not even think about it. And I think that should be the attitude because once you start to, concern yourself with token usage, I mean, if there is a financial component, for example, if you're paying per token or something like that, or if you continue down this path, it's going to eat into the company's total token pool or whatever, then you can think about that kind of thing. But if you're at the ideation phase, you don't want to undercut yourself by limiting what you're giving the tool because you're afraid of, exhausting the tokens. Like, I don't know if that's a great way to approach any problem. Like you're setting constraints at the very outset, and that's going to harm the output.
Yeah, I agree. And my problem with and that would be like my personal problem, which is actually documented for different people, which is if you hit like the model selection and now you have like a dozen different models to choose the, whatever 2.5 max turbo mode, extra super juicy. It's like, I can never know which one to pick. And we fall into, there's a whole book on the topic, the paradox of choice.
Yeah.
Right? Like having a higher number of choices does not equal making us happier. Right? Because you get to that point, it's like, I'm overwhelmed. I have no idea what to pick. I have no direction just looking at that list on what to pick.
It's like an analysis paralysis.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, I'm going to go do something else because this is too much. Right? So I like tools that allow me to like, okay, help me here. I do not know what I don't know. I know what I'm trying to get done here. Can you help?
Yes.
And then should there be better options to do it? Then you tell me.
Yes.
But I guess like even from my question, in the case of AI, it would know how much I know about the thing. It's like, yeah, this guy is a pro. He knows exactly the bits and bytes that he's sending through the wire. This person, no, they're just trying to get something done and, with a very beginner type of mindset, let me help them.
And this implies that the tool that you're using understands your fundamental consent and knows from previous conversations, perhaps, where you are in terms of your abilities.
Right.
This brings me to another conversation that we had at this past week's AIR meeting. And this is from someone who mentions using the tools to generate nonfiction writing.
Yes.
She mentions how her memories ChatGPT has a memories feature,
Mhm.
and it covers multiple conversations. So even if you start a new conversation, it has an awareness of the past memories,
Yes.
just like us. And she was asking, how do I start a new conversation that isn't, I guess, tainted or poisoned even by the existing memories?
Mm-hmm.
And while I can empathize with that and I can appreciate it and maybe even think of it as a problem, I don't want to think of it as a problem
Mm-hmm.
because in my thinking, for example, I cannot pull myself out of my own history or the totality of the history that I've lived when I'm thinking about a problem.
Correct.
Everything that I am working on today, whether I am cognizant of it or not, is colored by my past experiences.
Yes.
So if I am thinking through some problem and it's pulling in, memories or looking at it through that kind of framing or lens of the memories of the conversations that I had before, maybe that is closer to the way that I am actually thinking about things.
I love that. And yeah, when that has come up, it made me think because of some other things that I'm also reading and researching on around memories, right? How we recall things. Because it's like I've had similar situation with ChatGPT where for the longest time I've had this specific project in ChatGPT, which is my voice journaling project.
Yeah.
That has instructions where I say, if I start the conversation with voice journaling, blah, 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 do not respond with anything other than noted.
Yes.
Right? I don't want it to tell me that's a great idea or that's a whatever. I don't want any of that. Just say noted. I got it. Perfect. Right? It took a while for it to understand that that's what I needed because
Yeah.
it kept still like trying to expand on it. But then I started seeing like I'm in other projects, I'm journaling something, but I'm not saying voice journaling, da da da.
Yeah.
I'm just getting it out and I'm specifically saying do whatever and I need something back.
Yeah.
And then it responds with
Noted.
noted.
That's right.
So it makes me wonder like, okay, so it has that memory,
Yes.
but it's fragmented.
Yeah.
It's not understanding. It's like, yeah, that is a memory that I have, but it does not apply at all here. So, like with
Right.
the fictional writing, right? Fiction writing, it's like, yes, if I have a project and I say I'm doing some fiction writing, that's where my mindset is.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to pull from my memories within that domain.
Yes.
If I'm in a project where I'm doing my software developer type of thing and I'm prototyping a solution or I'm talking about behavior-driven development and this, that, or the other, I don't want my fiction memory affecting that.
Yeah.
Right?
So in the case that was shared, it's really close, actually.
Yeah.
So there's this fiction writing that the person is doing, and she then decides to do something that is more technical in nature, like maybe some ideation about a block of code that she's looking into. And
Right.
the way that it responds, it's like in some really fancy literary prose. So it's still addressing what she's seeking to resolve and investigating this problem, but the way that it is talking to her while doing it suggests that it's doing it from like this literary lens.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a really clumsy place because with this memory feature, it is trying to achieve something that is close to what we do. And depending on what we're working on, what we actually desire or what we think we desire is some means of a fragmentation. So, hey, yeah, I discussed that in that conversation, but I don't want it to bleed into here. So I want like some a segregation of the memories, but there's no explicit way to do this using the tools.
Right.
It's like memory is on, oh, it's on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what we're talking about. I can draw from those memories at any time if, there's something in the context that suggests that I should draw from those memories.
Right.
And there's no way of like peering into knowing when it's going to do that thing.
Yeah. It's being up in my mind as I read about this and pondered a lot about like memory, how our memories work and how our minds play trick where we think of them as memory of what happened, but what it does is, well, I remember this, and there's this thing here. So the mind just stitches it together. It's like we don't actually have memory of this. We haven't seen or heard. So the mind will just go, well, what is the storyline to get us from here from and to there based on that person's beliefs and values
Yes.
and preferences? It will stitch it together. I wonder how the AI tools will do, because they will do something very similar.
Correct.
And it's like, so yeah, tell me about that one thing. It will
Yeah.
find this memory, and it's gonna stitch its way.
That's
Like,
right.
oh, those are not my memories, buddy.
But in this case, it is actually something that we can investigate and get closer to a real answer. And the reason is, in whatever answer that it's providing to us, it has an existing pool of memories that is based, or like yes, based in the existing conversations that it has. So all of your conversation history in ChatGPT, if it's like doing some stitching, you can reverse engineer this basically, where you say, oh, it's pulling from that conversation and that conversation. I mean, this won't be like readily apparent to you because it's not doing like a citation of where it's getting these memories from. It's not, but it could.
Could it, like, could
It could.
ChatGPT do it?
Could
Because
ChatGPT? Oh, well, what I'm suggesting is if with enough time, let's say we dumped all of our data, we exported every conversation that we had, and we, had a new conversation, and it arrived at something where it's like, oh, how did it make this leap? You could, start from there and reverse backwards because you have all of its history. You have everything that is thought of, every conversation that you've had with it. And ultimately, you could say, oh, this is how it made that leap. It looked at this conversation. And of course, this would take a lot of legwork, or with some AI, maybe you could do it that way as well. But there is a way that you could, arrive at how it made this conclusion because it's drawing from existing conversations that you've had.
So that's where, depending on the kind of work that I'm doing, I have switched to Notebook LM because of the citations. Because it's like I drop all my sources there, and then I go into the chat to ask about those sources. And if these sources are, exclusively my own content, like my blog posts, transcripts from my talks, like I know what I talked about. So if something comes up as like, I didn't say that.
Right.
There's a citation. I can go and see, oh, I can see why it thought that way. Maybe that's okay.
That's what I'm describing.
Right. So so that in Notebook LM works well. In ChatGPT, I often go like, yeah, no, but where did you get that from? Because I know I didn't say that.
You know you didn't say it, but you can't do the thing that you can do in Notebook LM where it's like, oh, this is how it's not quite what I was saying, but I see how you arrived. You can't do this in ChatGPT yet.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And a few months ago, when I was like dropping my blog post into ChatGPT to do, I'm like, okay, I want to write something about my experiences from my blog post and all. And I told it, it's like, okay, you go and you find those things and you give me a link or the title of those blog posts. And some of the things that came back is like, no, that's not me at all, buddy.
Yeah.
I know, even though I forgot by now what I wrote 15 years ago.
Right.
It's like, that is not something
it doesn't ring true. Right.
Yeah. So it's at that point, I'm like, what else are you doing that you're just making stuff up? Because that drives me away from AI.
Yes.
Unless I'm specifically saying, yeah, go ahead and make stuff up because I just need, a spark of inspiration, creativity, whatever. But if I give you sources, work off of those sources. Don't make stuff up.
Yeah. And this is a hallucination problem that plagues AI. And it also plagues human beings because if we're talking about something that happened 15 years ago, I wouldn't expect you, to have perfect recall of what happened.
Yeah, nobody does.
Just the same as you and someone else 15 years ago who had the same experience. It would not surprise me if your version of events differs from that other person's. And I think about this even with like a language. For example, we have like Spanish here in Mexico or in the United States. And if we have two files that are identical and they're in different environments, we consider this like a drift if they start to get out of sync. The language gets out of sync if there are barriers between where the people are speaking it, because given the local population and the culture and the things that are happening there organically, new words will start to surface, or we start to use the language in different ways. So between the source language or the root of where this language originally emerged in Spain, here in the United States, we're speaking Spanish, but it's quite different in some ways from where they're speaking there. And this is a drift that happens. This doesn't mean that Spain's Spanish is the source of truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Let's have a call back to a few episodes ago when we were talking about the word insight,
Yes.
right? I forgot to mention, like that evening after we wrapped up the recording, I prompted, I think it was on Google or maybe it was on ChatGPT, like tell me how to use the word insights in Brazilian Portuguese.
Yes.
Right? So it gave me some words that have a similar meaning.
Mhm.
Similar meaning,
Yes.
not the very same meaning. And then I prompted again, I have to look up how I did it, but I wrote like an entire sentence in English
Yeah.
using insight the way we would use it here. Like, oh, I've put together all this knowledge and then I've run into this insight, or this insight came to my awareness, whatever however I've put it there.
Mhm.
And then I asked it to translate in Brazilian Portuguese
Yeah.
using only Brazilian Portuguese words.
Yes.
It did not translate insight. It did not translate insight. It went Portuguese, 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 insight,
yeah.
Portuguese, Portuguese. Even though I specifically said only use Brazilian Portuguese words.
Yeah. But as you know, as a speaker of Portuguese, when you're dealing with Portuguese speakers in here in the United States or on the continent, or in Brazil rather, the country of Brazil, this same thing emerges.
Yeah.
Where they're speaking, it's Portuguese, 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 and then random English word there. And it's not just Facebook or whatever, it could be a word like insight, and you'll see this.
Yeah.
I mean, you shared an example now where it's like when women are speaking in social media, making content, and they're talking about makeup, and they'll say makey, for example.
Makey.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there is a word for makeup in Portuguese.
Yep. Maquiagem. Yep.
Right. And the English word still creeps in. Like,
Yep. And like a bastardized version of the English word.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, well, that is not, yeah, the way you're using it, and it's really always funny for me because I get like Brazilians that learn how to say those things.
Yeah.
And then they are in a communication with somebody who speaks English natively.
Right.
And then they say those words and the other person goes like,
what's that?
yeah, like,
Yeah.
what do you mean by that? Yeah, it's always funny.
Right. And I have a little pushback. I don't see this as like a bastardization. I see this as like we have, because of the internet,
Yeah.
we are a big melting pot now.
Yes.
So, and this is impacting the way that we speak.
Yes.
This is impacting the language.
Yeah.
So some of these words, because you have a lot of people in Brazil,
True.
for example, they're consuming a lot of English content.
Yes.
And the words that are being used in that English content are creeping back in.
Yes.
So I think this is an evolution rather than a bastardization.
An evolution. I wouldn't see, I don't think, I have a hard time thinking of it as an evolution. If it were, like in that specific case, like let's explore the makeup, the use of the word makeup.
Yes.
If Brazilian Portuguese had not had a word for that's widely used for a long time, then you get this new word that comes from, say, English, and you start using, okay, maybe I would think of that as an evolution of how they communicate. But it's like,
Yeah.
there is this thing there. And if you are to take like this word that comes from a different language, well, the word is makeup. Why say just makey? Like makey. Like, how is that an evolution? That's where I have a hard time seeing that as an evolution.
You don't see it as an evolution because you're doing a purity test. You're saying, hey, we already have something for this. Why are you swapping it out for something that is maybe even less effective? I mean, it is less effective for you. So, and this is what
anybody who does not know English.
anybody who does not know English. But again, this speaks to the world that we're increasingly marching towards, where we're all interconnected. So you don't have to know
That's true.
English
Yeah.
to know these English words that are
Sure.
being used. So for example, the youth in Brazil, when they hear the word makey, they are not confused by it
True.
because they're in this internet world. And they know that when they hear makey, it is talking about makeup. And the actual word for makeup, oh, that's the old way of saying it. You see this when you compare Portuguese spoken in Portugal versus here. The way that some of the people in Brazil talk, and you go back to Portugal speaking that way, they're gonna say, "Oh, well, that's the way. That's the old way of saying it." And that makes a lot of sense because there is a drift between these are Portuguese in Portugal and Portuguese in Brazil. They are the two same languages, but there is a branching that has happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Branching that has happened. So that doesn't mean this one is the right way or this one is the wrong way or some bastardization of it. There are different cultural forces that are shaping the ways that we use the language.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's so if we think through a perspective of, and I like that, like looking back at memories, and it can be through language, it can be through a revised perspective. So for example, at a point in time, I mentioned this to I think to you the other day, where the way I grew up in Brazil with the word propaganda, I had a very different connotation than the way I've learned it used in the US.
Yeah.
Right? So back then, whenever somebody said propaganda, I had one idea in mind. That's how I grew up. So if today I recall like my mom saying, "Oh yeah, we were watching the movie, now we're making some popcorn because the propaganda is on." My memory from the time would go, "Yeah, it's the TV commercials."
Yeah.
That's what she meant. Now, when I look back at other points of memory that maybe I had there, but I had not connected the two dots, when it's like, oh, in that political context, when they use propaganda, they meant this other thing, which at the time I didn't have that perspective.
I would argue that the perspective that you had, or even your mom, when she's pointing at commercials as propaganda, I don't think it's so far removed from the way that it's used here in the United States.
Okay.
She referred to commercials as propaganda.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, the selling of an idea of whatever that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. But the thing is, the way when I first like heard somebody saying propaganda in the US, it was exclusively in the political sense.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't have that connection because the connection I had was, as my mom saying, "Oh, we just have like 5 minutes of time to go make some popcorn," and thinking of that propaganda is like, oh, it's just like a new soda that they are selling, right? So it didn't have this like bigger impact of like, oh, it's the government pushing stuff onto you.
So because, and this is why I say they're so closely related, the two ideas, the way that she was using it and the way that we use it here. The way that you've heard it used here is mostly strictly confined to a political context. But I would argue, and if you were to talk to her about this and ask her, like, what did you mean when you called the commercials propaganda? I don't think she would just say, oh, they're just selling stuff to us. Because it goes beyond that. There's a larger context that is happening. They are glamorizing something to sell to us. They are making something look very appealing, so it is attractive to us.
Right.
So in that context,
yes,
it is not so different.
It is not. And I think what I'm getting to is just the resolution of my thinking, and how it changed over time, right? So the first time you see something, maybe it's all like pixelated,
yeah,
because you cannot see full resolution. and then you live life, and then you come back and you look at that same thing. Oh, now you can see more details,
Yes.
right? If we could like reconstruct the entire situation to be able to see those details, and that's where my mind goes, like maybe now, like with all the experience and everything, I do have more resolution, but the data was collected.
Yeah.
It's missing a lot of stuff. So even though I can see, like, we cannot upscale our memories.
We
Maybe
can't get
that's
the
where-
enhance button like they do in the shows.
So that's where my mind is going. So now I do have like, okay, I have a different appreciation, a different understanding, a different resolution that I can use to evaluate that, right? And refresh my beliefs and everything.
Yes.
But the data is missing. The data was not high resolution.
Right. This is more reason for us to capture like plain conversations. Like a lot of history that is captured is in books, and maybe some of it is conversational. There are tons of books where we're capturing conversations. The Library of Congress, even today, we've been capturing conversations with people, regular people, like me and you, for example, could be talking about something, and it makes it into the Library of Congress, and it is stored there as a historical record of these two people having conversation about these topics. We need more of that for when the stakes aren't as high. Like we need more of that when it is to not necessarily capture a conversation about a given topic, but to capture the essence of the culture.
Yeah.
Because over time, these things are lost. For example, we can harken back to the Makey example. In 10 or 15 years, that is going to be the standard way in Brazil to refer to makeup. Like it or not, this is just a matter of fact.
True.
And if we capture now, like, where did this drift happen? Why did it happen? And have an understanding of it, we can trace back and have an understanding. That's just one example of it. But there are all of these things where we do them today and we don't know why.
Correct.
We do them because everybody else is doing them, but there's a story about how we arrived at that point. And if we have the data, the recordings or whatever to harken back to trace back to, then we can have a richer understanding of history.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. It makes me think of like my approach, how it has been to like personal knowledge management systems, right? Where I've had this process for a long time now, where when I create some content, say back in the day when I was using different tools and then Evernote and then Obsidian, I put the content in and then I organized based on what the connections I make with that thing. Like maybe it's a note about this meeting. So I'm gonna tag Matthew, I'm gonna tag the podcast, I'm gonna tag AI, I'm gonna tag creativity, perspective. Those are ways that right now I'm thinking future me looking back. That's how I think today.
That's right.
That I'm gonna recall. But then I have this process of like ongoing process of going back to those notes and say, okay, I used to think of that thing as perspective. Now I think of it like I've expanded that. Because now I have more resolution. So it's an ongoing thing. I never like settle in and just say, oh yeah, I'll find that later. Like maybe I will never find it back because like 2, 3, 5 years from now, I'm not gonna think about it the same way.
That's right. That's right. So again, there's a value in capturing these things as snapshots in time.
Yeah.
This is where I was at that time. And I would even describe you having a thought today and your progression or your evolution on whatever you call it as a drifting from where you are today. You were there and you've moved away to a different point. Maybe it's because you've had new experiences. You have more data to work with at the base level, which is why you have drifted from your original position. So I do think it is important for us as human beings to have roots in things, to have some sort of thing undergirding us, to have to be rooted in something, whatever ideas you have. I don't think we should be so ephemeral, if you will, where it's like, well, yeah, I believe this today, but it could be different tomorrow. Like whatever you believe today, I would hope that it's rooted in something, even if you do know or you suspect that it will be different 10 years from now. Today, it should be rooted in something. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're permanently fixed to that position, but it should be rooted in something while you hold the belief. Otherwise, why do you have it?
Ah, man, I think you're gonna love that book, The Orange Book, Useful Not True.
Okay.
It's about that, right? It's like useful, not true. Is this belief truth? Like, is it the truth? Well, in like Derek Sivers, I love the way he articulates that. If we have to say, I believe X, it means we do not know for a fact. There could be other interpretations. So his main point is this thing that I believe right now, it doesn't matter if it is the truth, the factual observation. If it helps me, if it's useful for me, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Right? And then having the point of like, just keep like revising your beliefs.
Yes.
And making sure that whatever belief you're holding, is it, useful?
Correct.
Is it helping you move forward, do good things? Right?
And after this belief has served its purpose, after I have divested from it because it no longer serves a purpose,
Right.
I think that's the moment to capture why.
True.
I mean, even at a personal level, I believe this all these years, and I no longer believe it. What has changed? Like, I don't think we're doing like retrospectives at an individual level, and maybe it would serve us to do so.
I think so.
I do believe that there are like social components that are in place where that do serve in some respects as a retrospective. Maybe it's post-war, maybe it's post-mortem after you've lost a loved one. There are these moments where you do a reflection, but I would say that these things should happen much sooner or more often, these reflections.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think we should be like navel gazing and always like completely absorbed in thinking, okay, this happened, what went wrong, and doing this exercise all the time. But I think there should be points, and we should be very deliberate about setting them where we are intentionally doing a self-reflection, especially if our beliefs have changed. We should know why, and we should appreciate those moments even more so we could potentially elicit more of them.
Yeah, I'm 1,000% there with you. This is something that resonates with me, and the way that I've been thinking about it is if I go back and I see, like, I've been going through this quest of like going through my blog posts from starting 20 years ago, and like every week I spend like 30 minutes going through old posts and then pondering, like, because then I see through my writings, like I wrote that years ago. It's like that was my belief. That's what I thought at the time, given everything that was going on, my current skill at the time, my current conditions at the time, that's what I believed. I don't believe that anymore. Why? What has changed?
Yes.
And so that helps me understand my trajectory, where I have been, where I am, and that's going to be a good indication as to where I'm going to go next.
Correct.
Right? But it also helps me be grounded into, as I'm interacting with other people, they may be holding that belief that I had 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And instead of telling them, you're wrong, you should like, no, no, no. They need to take their time. The only thing that maybe I can do is like based on where they are, what they hold as a belief, and where they're trying to go, I can help nudging them or providing them like, when I had a similar situation,
that's the way to do it.
It was not the same situation,
Correct,
different individuals, different everything. But here, let me give you this. Like maybe you're looking that way. Let me help you take one step back so that you can see a little bit more. What do you see there? And they may see what I'm thinking they should see, but they may not because it's not. They're not ready for it.
They're not ready, right?
Be.
It's not useful to them in that moment.
In that moment,
at least from their perspective, because it may very well be useful if they were to apply these things. But I think that is the value of having people in our communities or in the larger culture
Mhm.
who do have wisdom and experience that we as younger people, for example, can
Yeah.
draw from.
Yeah.
Because I mean, any experiences that people much younger than us, for example, are having are not new to this planet. For the most part, there are things that are creeping in because we live in a very technological world now,
Right.
where many people, kids, aren't even playing outside in the way that we did when we grew up. So there are different challenges that they're facing that are completely foreign to us.
Yes.
So just as much as they have to learn from us, we have to learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's, I've made a point of doing that kind of reflection, and I forced myself, and now it's going to be a call out to my newsletter, Back to the Spiral, where every week, what I do, so every Monday, I have that up in my mind, which is, okay, tonight I'm going to be writing my newsletter, which I always publish on Tuesday morning. So what I do is I ask myself 3 questions, like, what am I doing right now in the present? What is up here? What am I thinking about? What am I doing? How am I feeling about things? Whatever. Okay. Look back in the past. Like, are there any connections about what I'm doing right now with the past? Like, when have I started thinking about that? When have I first learned about this? When was it the last time I thought about that? The last, like, if I say, oh, today I say, I believe this thing, is like, since when?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, 20 years ago, somebody told me this thing, and I got a hold of that, and I
Yeah.
never let it go. But I also never updated that belief
That's right.
with newer information. So I go back and then I look through like old talks I've given, old blog posts, personal journals and stuff. And like, oh, and then I draw those, and then I transport myself trying to see those old memories through today's lens.
Yes.
And then I try to think, okay, based on what I'm feeling and thinking right now, what I just reconnected with the past, where do I think I'm gonna be in the future? And it could be the future like tomorrow, next week, or a few years from now. I write that up.
Yes.
So that 5 months from now, for instance, I can go back and see, it's like the thing that I was predicting about the future, what happened exactly? Did I go where I thought? What happened between now and then?
I forecasted into the future, and here's what actually happened.
Yeah.
What accounts for this gap, perhaps.
Yeah.
But the real value here is something that we may even be glossing over. When you're reconstructing this timeline, you're doing so with data that you captured.
Yes. Yes.
Many people, for example, if you're not journaling, if you're not writing, if you don't have these things that you can go back and reference, the only thing you can construct the timeline from is your memories and perhaps the memories of other people, which are all valuable.
Yes.
And this is problematic for many obvious reasons.
Yes.
So I take this moment to say, Ken, if you have a desire to, capture these things, capture your thoughts, journal, write them down, do voice memos or whatever it takes so you can have something in the future to harken back to as proof, as evidence of where you were at that point in time.
Yes, 100%. And for those who likes like things backed up by science research, now I don't remember if it was on the book The Invisible Gorilla or if it was, I need to look through my logs, but they mentioned this research that they've done with like everybody. If you ask like, what were you doing on September 11th
Yeah.
of 2001? Everybody will like
Right away.
bam, right away.
Yeah.
Right. Now you ask somebody, what were you doing the day before or the day after? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Now the research, the study that I've read in this book, what they did was they went to, I think, middle school kids maybe, and they asked them to document where they were, what they were doing, who they were with, like everything, document right then and there. 3 years later, they ask the same kids now in college, I think. So what were you doing on that day 2 years ago? I believe like 100% got it wrong.
Surprise, surprise.
And that was, 20
Yeah.
plus years ago
Right.
with distractions around, but not as much as we have now. So
Correct.
now our memory is even more fragmented because we keep getting pulled away from so many things without giving our brains the time to internalize those things.
Correct.
So like a year from now, whatever memory we have of today, it will be a mess.
Yeah.
Unless we write it down, document, look back, it's like, ooh, otherwise it's gone.
Cooked.
It's cooked.
Yeah.
It's cooked.
And one of the ways, I mean, for any culture, how we propagate the past into the future is by this storytelling that we do, is by this narrative that we carry forward.
Yes.
If this isn't captured in any way, because we've lost like storytelling in the way that we had it in times past.
Yes.
Like even before written language, history was carried forward via storytelling,
Yeah.
via language.
Yes.
And we have all of this tech today where we're hoarding and capturing all of this data, but it is not doing the thing that we need it to do.
Yep. Yep. I do think about that a lot. And just as we walk to, I guess, closing this one recording.
Yeah, because we could do this all day.
We can. It's always so engaging.
Yeah.
That I love it. Just a few years ago, I had not read the book Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
Right? When I read it, I'm like, I was blown away.
Uh-huh.
Loved the book, and I started like doing some research and reading reviews and getting the graphic novel version. And then I've run into the movie
right?
From 1950 something, right? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not gonna spoil because if people haven't watched, I don't want to spoil. But essentially, like, of course, the technology was not there to really do the visuals from the book, but the storytelling is there, and the closing of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Like the author Ray Bradbury, he said he liked the ending of the movie more than his own ending. And if you haven't watched that movie, you may want to check it out because the ending, it speaks to what we were just talking about, the storytelling aspect.
Yes.
It's right there.
So I have seen the original, and there is even a remake from, I want to say 2019, featuring an actor called Michael B. Jordan.
I haven't watched that one.
Yes.
How was that?
Good.
You liked it? Okay, because I saw some
like
reviews and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to watch it because some
So-
people really didn't like it.
Yeah. For whatever
It's always
reasons,
the
but
case.
I'm less critical about like the acting or like I care about the story.
Me too.
That's what I care about first and foremost.
Yep.
Not they didn't capture the scene in the way that I would like because of the whatever. But
Yeah.
and I'm a person who I have like an amateur film background. Like I like to make shorts and that kind of thing.
Nice.
But first and foremost, I care about the story
The
that's
story.
being told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm 100% the same way. 100% the same way. Give me a good story any day. I don't care about the effects. I don't care about any of that. Right? Because that's the thing. Like all those movies, that's like a whole bunch of effects. Like, oh, it's great in the moment. A lot of,
Right.
the entertainment value is high. But like 2 weeks later, I don't remember anything about the movie anymore.
Except the explosions.
Right.
Right.
But the ones that tell a story, those are
That's what I care about because that's what people are going to discuss ultimately. You do have like your Michael Bay films that do have all of the gratuitous explosions and people talk about that kind of thing, but is it covering for something? Is it hiding something? Is it masking an inability to tell a deeper story?
Right.
Or are you just trying to sell box office tickets? But that's a different story.
That's a different one. I will check out the most recent Fahrenheit 451 then.
Time it's available on streaming services. I believe it's on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will check it out.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great time. One more time, thanks. People who are watching, following along this thing, reach out if you have any questions or any topics that we should be exploring that
Yeah.
maybe we hinted at and you thought, oh, they're going there, and then they went someplace else.
We veered off. But
Right.
yeah,
Let us know. So this is it, the Blank Page Podcast.
episode 7, we did it again, and we're going to continue to do it. Until next time.
See ya. Always a pleasure, my friend.